are employees saying in this instance?
So there's a memo that's been circulated. We don't know how widely, but the concern that's been raised is that this tool, it's a new extension for the Chrome browser that's used internally in the same way we use tools here to set up meetings, et cetera. This one sends up a red flag or some kind of a flag when somebody organizes a meeting that occupies a certain number of rooms or involves a certain number of people. Once it reaches that threshold, I think it's 10 rooms, 100 people, it gets flagged. Now, Google has come back and said to us, look, the memo misinterprets this. This is something that we've put in place to cut down on meeting spam, misuse of space, things along those lines. I think all of us who work in places where there's a scarcity of office space or concerns about spam can identify with the concern about, like, is this stuff being allocated correctly? However, in the Google setting, where there has been this escalation, as you pointed out, in tension between the employees and the management over organization, over protests, over management decisions, and there's been walkouts that have involved thousands of people. The question is this an attempt to tamp down organizing, to kind of keep us from raising protests?
And to be fair, I want to bring up Google's statement in response, which said that the claims about the operation of this purpose are categorically false. It is a pop-up reminder that asks people to be mindful before auto-adding a meeting to the calendars of a large number of employees. So what is the take from Google's perspective?
Yeah, I mean, their sense is like, hey, look, this memo is misinterpreting the intent of this tool. But what we have done as reporters is we've spoken to people who are familiar with the situation, who are familiar with the contents of the memo. They've done some research. There's engineers at Google who are very good at what they do. They have looked at the tools. They have done their own analysis of it, and they have raised some of those same concerns that were outlined in the memo.
And like you said, there has been growing tension, if you will, between Google and their employees. Remind us again some of the recent heightened tensions that we have been feeling.
Sure. So there was concerns about payouts for for a particular executive who walked away with a lot of money after being accused of misconduct, sexual misconduct within Google. That was one of the things that raised a lot of concerns. Employees have also raised concerns about Google's willingness to go out and court government contracts, to use Google technology for the military, for example. Is there artificial intelligence? Is there facial recognition? Those kinds of technologies, are those going to be used for purposes that people within the rank and file disagree with?
And not to diminish this, but is this perhaps maybe not a Google problem, but a broader Silicon Valley problem where there just has become increasing frustration between employees and management?
Yeah, there's increasing willingness for companies throughout the technology industry, Silicon Valley and beyond, to protest, to walk out, to raise questions about how our technology being used for the right purposes, to make the world a better place or to make the world more violent? And so these are valid questions, and we've seen an increase in the willingness and frequency of employees raising these questions.